Okay, boom. We are live on the TruMon show. Now you're going to see me frozen on the screen. But like I said, at least I'm frozen with a smile. So it's not bad. It's positive. So that's why I leave the picture there. But anyway, I'm glad to see you guys. Greetings, Lily. Greetings, Mehmet.
Greetings, guys. Good to see you, man. It's good for us to all be back together after a long time. But yeah, you know what's weird about it? It's felt like it was yesterday.
Oh yeah, for sure. It's the best. It's always timeless stuff and that kind of stuff. Me, I don't put time and thing on that, so it's really timeless. And I feel like, and also Lily, what she said last meeting we had together, she said it's important to get in touch with our friends, to stay in touch with our friends. And that got to me a lot, and that's why I started networking and bringing Crystal and her husband on, because Lily made me think. And then I'm like, okay, I got to reach out to more people. And I really vibe with Crystal and Nick. They're great astrologers, and they know a lot about an extensive field of study they have made. So now they can bring quite a bit to the table. So I'm interested to really dig a little deeper with them into all this. But today I'm very, very delighted to have you on. If you're here, it's because I want to hear your perspective. You know, that's the whole idea of going online, talking to each other, is because I want to hear how you see the world. How's your perspective on this, on that? And then makes me reflect. And that's always been the reason why I did that TruMon show, is to learn from others. It's not because I have something huge to bring to the table here. I'm the learner. I'm like everyone that watches it. I learn from the persons I bring on the show. So today, I would like to have a bit your point of view, your perspective on the stars and the start. And you know, when we look at things, I think it's important to consider the words, and consider, when you put the word considers, you go on both sides. You know, you cannot consider something without looking at sides. Consider. So it's about sides. So you look at two sides of thing, and often that's what I think a lot about the words, is there's something there. So why exactly, in your opinion, in your perspective, the word stars is written with the S, the spine, I get it. But also you have start with a crossing. The crossing represents the cross in astrology. Like I've been told all kinds of stuff. They put Jesus on the cross. The sun is on the cross, but the sun is the sun in the sky. I get it. But what's your perspective on all this? Like, people say we are stardust and stuff, but there's got to be an explanation. I cannot just accept that, oh, I'm stardust. But when I look at words and I hear astrologers like you guys maybe extrapolating on my idea that we would really be coming from the stars. It says in the word that maybe it's a star, but now how does all this comes into a body on earth? Because I'm in flesh here. I don't know if I'm solid. I don't know if anything is solid around, but I seem to have a body. So I've been embodied on earth, maybe from above, maybe from some kind of portal. There's something very alive up there, and that's what I think it got to me this summer with my experience on the bike, like I've said here, and something was talking to me that day to dig deeper into this. So that's why I'm really interested to talk about it and to hear you guys about our journey really coming from the stars. We come from, so I know I come from the belly of my mother. I exited the vagina and all that. I get it. That's where I come from. But there's also a soul, and the soul is the light. And also, I want to just do a little thing at first, so I'll leave you talk after, both of you. I have no issue with that. But also, when the spermatozoid get to the egg inside, apparently there's a light sparking from that. So the soul, to me, the soul is the light within you. But that's why we say we live in the dark, because we don't embrace the light. And soul is soleil en français. Soleil, soul, soleil. So it's the same word. In Spanish, it's soul. You have it on the beer. So, and the soul is also your foot. So now we're in the age of Pisces, where what our soul is completely down and stuff. So maybe bring us a bit more clarity on all this.
Yeah.
Like, from the stars to Earth. Both of you, whatever who wants to start first.
Yeah. I was going to say, you mentioned star and stars. One is with an S and one is with a T. So stars with an S, if you look at an S, it's a sine wave, or so it makes a wave. So then that would for me, my understanding would correlate to something a bit more transcendental and more, how can I say, more wavy. Whereas a start with a T, the T is the cross, and a T is a stop. So it signifies something more physical. So that's how, although they're both connected, that is how I would break it down, just from knowing what an S is and what a T is, basically. So the stars would allude to something transcendental, whereas the start with a T is the physical. That's how I would break it down.
Wow, Mehmet, that is so fantastic. Yeah. Like super cool, because like, you know, we got 3 realms of being, and you've got, you know, like entering from source, and then the S is the sine wave that's in the creative imagination, and then the T hangs it on the cross, right? And it's ad astra. We are stars, you know, so we have those 2 parts of our S, blue and red, that we're syncretized, you know, getting in harmony in order to get that Merkaba or Okema vehicle working, so that we light up like an actual star and ascend to the stars. I love the way you can do that with letters, though.
Yeah, so, see, I learned that through Santos. Like, that once you understand language and certain letters and what they mean and what frequency they have, you can decipher so many things. I mean, I'm not saying I'm 100% correct, but that's what it feels like to me, or from my current understanding. That's when I looked at those 2 words that Yannick mentioned, stars and starts. Just like I said, the stars gave me a more of a spiritual, transcendental feel because of the S, and the start with a T has that the stop, which gives it more of a physical attribute.
Yeah, I listened to this thing from Rudolf Steiner once, like on that Rudolf Steiner audio, and he's talking about letters and stuff, and he's like, you know, that's the first letter. So it's like, that wonder of seeing the sky, or like popping out, you know, and be like, you know, and is also the red syllable in Tibetan, but like, so each of the letters, and then kind of getting the tooth in the earth, and like, or getting into it. I don't know. But
exactly. Spot on.
You guys know, I love to hear you guys talk about language and etymology like that, because even though it's not I want to learn it more, because isn't that the essence of like magic or creating reality? Everything's made of letters, so
I guess so.
Careful.
Yeah, I guess so. But like, it's just with me, because I've like, as like, you know, Lily, I'm into like a lot of like esoteric, like gematria, like how certain letters are connected to certain numbers, and certain letters have certain vibrations and stuff like that. So that's like how I've got into it, and because I understand different languages too, that's how I'm able to connect a lot of things also. But yeah, it just like sounds, basically, because like, for example, I remember I was on Facebook once, and I did a post about how like Ramadan, like the Muslim celebration, must have some connection to Aries, the ram. And the guy was saying, oh no, it can't, because if one's in English and one's in Arabic. But then when you look up the meaning of Ram in Arabic, it means a blazing fire, which is Aries, Mars, the ram. So it doesn't matter what language is in, a particular sound has a particular vibration, and it would more or less always allude to like a similar thing, if that makes sense.
No, it does. And I'm the dumb American who speaks English mostly. I'm sorry, I don't mean it to be bad. I'm just like, this is a point though, like, because Steiner said that English was kind of like a dead language. And I speak Spanish, that, you know, I grew up in the South of the United States, so I speak Spanish, but but you guys both speak more languages. You're polyglots. Glot, is that the word? Polyglots. And so it comes more naturally and easily to you because you can see those connections. Whereas English is a language that it's not as easy to see those in.
Yeah, I mean, you can see it, like, and also, you know what's really interesting with like languages is like knowing like the interchangeables. Like, for example, Lily, I'll give you one that relates to like you and like the word Pisces, for example. It in the English alphabet, P and F are interchangeable. So, like, for example, if we say things like philosophy or feel, we say it with a P. So then if P and F are interchangeable, then Pisces would just be Pisces or fishes. If you change the P at the beginning of Pisces and add an F, which those two letters are interchangeable, then it almost spells fishes. Like the word would spell fit. The word would be similar to fishes. So it's just like decoding it all as well, and then you get to like looking at other languages like Spanish and Italian. You've got like pescare, and again you see the P where you get the word pescatarian, which relates to fish, and you can start seeing little connections basically.
And also los pies, the feet.
Exactly.
Yeah.
But do you agree also that this pH that we pronounce like F also bring balance to a word? Like if you, because we're talking about pH is neutral. Now we're bringing a neutral vibration to the word instead of something negative like fear, F-E-A-R. Like if you put fear, P-H-E-A-R, maybe it's a different resonance, different vibration, frequency, whatever.
Definitely.
Because the spell matter, right?
Yeah, because at the end of the day, each letter has, but that's so interesting, though, because element O, no, P is 17. No, P is the 16th letter. It's O that is the 6th. O that is the 15th. Sorry, I'm just thinking out loud. No. Yeah.
No, that's fine.
Yeah,
that's
possibly, fine. I'm sure it does, Yannick, because like I said, although it's similar, it will still have its own unique vibration if you spelt it with a different letter. Do you get what I mean?
Like if you say you're fine with the P-H-I and fine F-I-N-E, it's like nice is not a nice word. So fine, probably not a fine word too. So you better spell it P-H-I-N-E. I know it makes sense to me that it brings more balance to a being, especially if you know you write, like you know what you're writing.
It sounds softer.
I go far a little bit.
Almost. It sounds softer with a PH.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, with an F. You're right.
Yeah, it's less square. It's more a smooth sound in a way. Just seeing it sounds better than just one letter. When you put two letters together to make a sound, I'm sure it has different frequency than just one letter simple to make the same sound. I don't know. To me, it sounds a bit right. Now, what about the soul embodiment? Like we were talking that the stars and the start is something, but what happened also, like I told you, like the spermatozoid get to the egg, a light spark and all that. Is that for you guys the proof that in the pudding, exactly, no pun intended, the proof in the pudding that we are very much a light being and we know it. I don't need to believe it. I know it. I can feel it. But I mean, if I want a tangible proof that I come from the stars, would that be the proof? And how can we relate to this with the above? Does that happen above? Like when two stars mate together, there's a spark and there's another star being born? Like I'm going far, but that's what I'm thinking about.
Interesting concept, because what you're ultimately talking about is like a conjunction. Because in astrology, when two planets come together, they form a unique like energy. It's considered a good thing. Do you get what I mean? So, like, yeah, I guess yeah, the sperm and the egg thing could be seen as like a conjunction of some sort of two opposing energies that create their own unique thing, which is in this case a baby or another being. That's how I would interpret it. I don't know if Lily wants to add to that.
Well, interesting. Like, I think it's the reception of the cosmic fire, right? Whenever that boof fire lights up, right? So that means you're receiving the procession at that time, you know, like, so if there's cosmic fire coming in. But it reminded me just then of when you guys said that, of, I love the conjunction thought. Like, that was super, I like that. But also it reminded me of one of my teachers, Lama Tsultrim Allione. She says that put, that symbol that we say in chud a lot, put, P-H-E-T, it's the union of the masculine and feminine symbols coming together to create that unity, or coincidentia oppositorum. That's like that unity moment. So yeah, I love that. Yeah, cool.
And why exactly, if we talk about feminine, masculine, why is the masculine represented with a 1 and the feminine with a 0? Because even in the computer technology, it's 1s and 0s. So what does this have to do with the stars? Because me, it's all as above, so below. So whatever we talk about here on Earth has to do with something going on up there, probably. But I'm not an astrologer. I never dig deep like you guys did, so I'm sure you can enlighten me on certain topics.
I mean, again, from a quick answer I would give to that is the reason why the masculine is 1 and the feminine is the 0 is because it represents the Taurus field. So the 1 would be the hyperbola in the middle, and then the 2 would be, although the circle, should I say, would be the
circle, okay,
woman, or the feminine concept, the Taurus. So you got the bull in the middle, and then you got the Taurus on the outside. So 1 would represent, it's a symbol of the phallic, basically. And obviously, as Santos always says, an odd number, which is odd, creates the Adam, and an even number is Eve, which corresponds to feminine. But in terms of the 1 and 0 in particular, I would say, 1 represents the phallic and the 0 represents the uterus, or the vagina, or the portal that we come from.
Lily, you want to extend on
that? Like the 0 would be like the source energy, or the black and blue that's like pulls backwards or could go forwards. Yeah, I see that. But I always thought it was interesting though that the red was feminine and it's the blue that's masculine, right? Because like when we're talking about this, because the red is the procession, but that's feminine, you know, and it's out, you know, and you would think of the feminine as in, but I think and maybe I'm wrong, but maybe I'm talking about this wrong, but I do remember that the red is feminine. And so, and the red, like Radha, you know, and Krishna's blue and Radha's red. And like, and Santos really got that right in my mind, because I wanted it to be opposite. But I think it's that flip thing.
It's both.
Know? Okay, tell me.
Yeah, so because basically, because I spoke about this with one of my friends, I was explaining to him, and he's like, no, it's the other way around. Like red is masculine and blue is feminine. But the way I see it, again, you can see it 1 from a transcendental perspective and 2 from a physical perspective. So, for example, the way I see the sun, when I look at the sun, it looks feminine and radiating, and like it looks like fabulous. So it looks feminine, but the effects of the sun, it penetrating the earth and making things grow, is more of a masculine attribute. So I would say it's both with both, and the same with the moon. Like the moon corresponds with the menstrual cycle of the female, and it's about like moving the waters and stuff. But when you look at the moon, it looks a bit more like stern and a bit more just plain, more masculine, its look. But its effects are more feminine. So again, that's just my own correlation and how I see it. So because I think that everything has kind of like a hermaphrodite thing to, like, even us, like, for example, I believe probably before we incarnate into the physical body, we're probably like both. But then obviously, once we come into our suit, we either come into a feminine suit or a masculine suit. But although like we're masculine or feminine, we still have the other part within us. Hence, like the saying, when you go with, like when you find a partner, you say, this is my other half. So it's the missing link to create a union, basically. So yeah, it all depends on just your understanding of reality and how you see things. So like I said, some people say, no, blue is the moon, it's feminine, it's night, red is hot, male, but again, I like to look at things a bit more fluidly rather than it's a set way.
I think you're right on to something. And then also, if you think about even just the sine wave and the red precession part of it, you know, from Capricorn to Cancer, like, you know, that like it alternates even in that, because it's like red, blue, red, blue, red, blue in that. And then if you were to break down just one sign and do like the dodecahedron, it'd be like red, blue, red, you know, within just one sign. So everything's alternating constantly. But I think one is a force out and one is a force in, the contraction and the precession. And it feels to me always that the masculine is the precession, and the contraction pulling back in is female. But I don't know if that's true, because also there's like the red whore of Babylon, right? And that's the precession, right? So she's female, you know, but whereas then we get like Black Madonna, and that's like, you know, contraction, and so that's magnetic. I don't know.
Yeah. I mean, yeah, again, that's what I'm saying. Like, it just depends on the way you see it and your understanding. Like, because for example, like Aries, like, is red fire. It's seen as a masculine, like, kind of energy. And then you got Taurus, which would be like moon, blue, Venus. So like, like, I'm just being obviously very general in what I'm saying, but yeah, it just, I don't know, like I don't see it so black and white. I do, but at the same time, I can see the inverses, like the esoteric and the exoteric way of seeing
the occult or the esoteric
ways of seeing it, depending on how you visualize and theorize things ultimately.
And the 1 and 0 that I was talking about before, does it have to do with the sun having sun rays? Because the sun rays are very intense, they can reach your eye. But I've never really felt moon rays. Like, we don't say the moon rays. I don't think so. It emits a light, but the light doesn't reach you as much as the sun.
Yeah, I mean, I've seen videos where they've measured moonlight and they say it's cold. But at the end of the day, I've never done an experiment myself, so it's not a subject I can really talk extensively about. But I have seen people, they say that when they measure moonlight, it's cold. But
and again, why would the female energy, the moon, they consider it female, why would it be cold? And the other one, the male, is hot. Like, it's a bit, I don't know, it's women are not cold. Like, why is there a cold light coming from the moon? Like, all this is,
I guess because because red corresponds with the plus symbol and the blue corresponds with the negative, like contraction, like the contracting. So I guess that's why it would maybe relate to cold, whereas heat is radiation and going out. So that's why it would like relate to red. But
that's why on the tap you have blue and red as the water.
It's the electromagnetic spectrum, because also the red light goes really slow, whereas the blue light's going like this.
Yes.
So like one is got a higher capacitance. So the slower things go, the more dense they are, basically. Whereas the faster something goes, the less dense it is.
Exactly, which is why like the sun is considered clarity, and like it can purify and like be that spontaneous liberation or spontaneous awakening is represented by the red, the sun. But what the moon is considered to be a reflection, it could be delusion, it can, that's where things can get the different comes in, where we're like reflecting onto the moon cave, like things that are different or illusion. Like the moon is a reflection of the sun's light.
Yeah.
Right? Like the sun's light is the direct light.
Yeah, exactly.
And what about that super planet alignment that's going to happen? I think I touched the topic with Lily last time we were together, but Mehmet, maybe you can extend. What do you get from that? And I think it has already started to align. I think Lily I saw one of your videos, you said there's already 2 that are aligned. Now it takes a little bit for them to come and align, I get it. But what about that? What does that gonna imply to our life?
To be honest, Yannick, I've been seeing a lot about it online, but I haven't actually like looked into it like properly. But again, I guess what it will mean, like again, I haven't looked at what the conjunction is, so I can't really talk about it. But on a personal note, it will all affect us differently depending on which part of our chart it will be transiting. So depending on where particular placements will be, so things like, for example, like Aries for me is in my 10th and 9th house. So if something's happening in Aries, then it will relate to like my spiritual and religious or spiritual way of seeing things, and my public life, which is the 10th house. But for example, for you, it might be in your house of health or your house of money. So it will affect us all differently.
I really like what you're saying. So that signifies that not all celestial events up there influence everybody the same way.
No way. Because
okay, that's big.
Yeah, because
I just told you what is it going to do for humanity, but might not have zero influence on me, but a major one on someone else, right, Lily or Mehmet?
Yeah.
Well, yeah, I think yes and no, because there also is the collective and the horary chart, which we can transcend our birth charts in a lot of ways. And also, Mehmet, this is like what we were talking about before when Yannick was off, and like the way, because somebody asked me this question, and so I looked into it for half a minute, and you would know this immediately if you thought about it. It's like what we were talking about how last year all the planets were bunched up in one half of the zodiac, and that they're starting to spread out. And so last year when we first came in the year, it was like everything was bunched in one sign. So we'd have these huge stelliums all year long, that were like really pounding one area of our house. So that's true. It was hitting us all differently, but nonetheless, a major amount of energy was hitting all of us like a locomotive going through our charts. And it's starting to space out a little bit, but it's still happening this year. And right now, the planetary parade, what we're seeing is that because a bunch of planets are all in one half of the horizon, and we've got retrograde planets like Mars, so we're really able, they're visible at nighttime above the horizon.
Yeah, I've been seeing it.
Yeah, so because of that, like there's like a locomotive lineup. And it's the Venus, largely the Venus and Saturn conjunction people are talking about, but that Mars retrograde right there, we can see Jupiter, right? Like all these planets. And, like earlier in the summer, we could see Jupiter and Mars together really bright, and it's because the planets are together in a certain part of the horizon. And I personally believe that it has a lot to do with the fact that we have a ton of planets changing signs this year, and largely though that Saturn and Neptune going into Aries, because I think this is a real chance for baptism by fire, mystic heat and baptism by fire for a certain cohort of beings who are ready to be way showers for the Aquarian age. And I believe in spontaneous liberation. I don't think anyone's missed the boat. However, I do think that we have a strong cohort of people who are about ready to make a big shift. And so that's what I think that this planetary parade is largely like indicating. It's almost like a sign that as Losar is about to come in, the new year and the new pour in Aquarius, like it's almost like a comet or something. You know, it's like a visible sky phenomena alerting us to the fact that it's a big year.
Yeah. Now you mentioned it, Lily, I remember now when I go to the back of my garden, I always see Mars on the right, Jupiter in the middle, and then I see Venus and Saturn. Oh, sorry, to my right, Jupiter in the middle, and then Mars to the left. So I've been seeing that a lot when I go for a walk. I'm always looking up and checking them out.
Yeah, for sure. You said something, Lily. You said, and it sparked something in me. Of course, I'm attentive, so I pay attention. But you said over the horizon. The stars are over the horizon now. What is it? Where are they if they're not over the horizon? And what is the horizon? Is it the line of my eyesight, or it's the line of the sky with the earth at the end of everything? Like, you know, like on the surface level, like the horizon, so from wherever you are on earth, you have a different perspective of the horizon. And if they're not above the horizon, where are they? Because we're not talking about the ball as far as I'm concerned. So where the star goes. So now I'm all confused here. You tell me they're not over the horizon. Where are they?
The ecliptic still moves around the earth. Like, okay, so I'm going to come at you from a geocentric perspective. I think that's gonna be okay here. But as Mehmet and I were talking earlier, that I'm not going to like rail flat earth down anyone's throat, but nonetheless, astrology is, and the magical worldview, I believe, like sitting in the Okama body of the star vehicle, that we are a geocentric. I believe that the center of the earth is the hearth in the heart, you know, where it's coming out, you know, it's like, that's where we see the horizon arise. So in the daytime, when we see in the eastern corner, we see the sun rise at the ascendant, that is the horizon line. Santos calls it the plane of inertia. You know, so there's this plane of inertia, and then the stars break out and rise. But then we know that like the ecliptic moves around us. So it goes under the earth, it goes into the underworld, and then, or inside the earth, you know, and back out, true, you know, so there's like a revolving thing. And that's what I'm referring to. So,
okay.
Like,
but I'm confused a bit because now we're talking about the celestial bodies in the earth. And if we go with a model that we accept a little bit more, like the flat earth thing, I'm not saying I'm buying everything here, but the stars would be rotating above. So now you're bringing something interesting, because you say maybe they go in the realm below. It makes a lot of sense because we don't always see all the stars in the same sky. So where are they? In the winter time, you're going to see Orion. You don't see it in the summer. Where is Orion?
Yeah.
What, did it go down in hell? What?
Well, there's different ways of seeing it, like Yannick. At the end of the day, I think the way Lily's referring to it is more in relation to the chart, if I'm not mistaken, about being under the horizon. But there's two ways of looking at it, because the way we view the stars, we've all got our own personal dome. And just say, for example, the sun's rising in the east. Yeah, it might not actually be. See, there's two views. I'll explain.
Oh, yeah, that's good what you're bringing.
So basically, when the sun's coming from the east this way, yeah, it's not actually, some people say it's not actually coming under the ground, but due to our view, it's a dome. So when it hits the side of our dome, it goes up, and then it comes to the midday point, and then once it's going away from us, it appears to sit under the ground. Although it's not actually sitting under the ground, it's just going away from you. It appears that way. So
okay, so it's the same for the stars.
Yeah, it's the same.
Okay, so they don't go down. Okay,
they're just going away, but they appear to go down.
Okay, yeah.
Basically,
okay,
that's all.
That's what Lily meant when she said they go below the horizon.
Yes,
Me, I was thinking like below the edge, fucking in the nothing out there or something. But I'm like, it's in our perspective, it's like a plane of existence, so it's super vast. Like it's probably the universe is the plane we're on with different pounds. I don't know. I haven't explored much beyond Canada, so I cannot really tell you. I went to the States once or twice, but so I don't have a great perspective on what these places look like. But what she said made sense. It's going away from us. So all the stars would be exactly in the firmament, but because it's so big, it's like the sun goes up and the stars are there to tell us the time of the year. So the stars tell the year, the sun tells the day, and the moon tells the month. So the stars, that's why you don't see them all the time up there, and they move away and they take a long time to come back. Now it makes sense for me. I don't know if I'm right.
Yeah, you've pretty much nailed it, Yannick. But like, Lily was going to say something, and then after that, I'll say something.
No, go ahead. Go ahead. It doesn't.
I was just going to say that if I can share screen, I can show you an example. Like there's a diagram that I can show you how it works. But if not, then don't worry about it. Or we can do that on another show. That's all I was going to say.
Yeah, like I personally see it like my body is the fixed cross, like the fixed my energy is holding that fixed cross. So it rises so I can watch like at a certain time of day. There, we have planetary hours, we have all kinds of things that we work with regard to this. So I can watch it rise in the eastern corner, culminate in the south above me, then set in the west to my left, but then it's going to my feet, it's going to my coffin box. But when Mehmet says it's going away from you, that means it's going further and further into the blue shift towards source. So we can understand it on the inside as well. Yeah. Like, it's not like it's coming into visibility as it's reaching and culminates in visibility at the midheaven. And then it sets on the inside, like switches to blue, it actually switches to blue shift at the midheaven and starts to fall. But and to go closer to source or further away from you,
Yeah, exactly.
So like, it goes both ways. It's pretty complicated, but like I see myself inside of a star that's like the Merkaba, right? Like, or the Okema vehicle. And so there are two wheels spinning around me. And one is spinning, by way of primary direction. And the other, though, is spinning and the counterpoint, which is Santos and I have talked about that a lot. And like, that's what I would always be like, no, wait, I'd get him alone and I'd be like, no, this is what I want to talk about. I want to talk about that counter spin that goes goes away from me, because it's mirror. So as the sun is rising on this side, it's also going backwards on that side,
Yeah.
That's really heady. But I really think that when you talk about that human design astrology, that guy Bashar or whatever, I haven't studied it, but I get the feeling that that's what he's doing. That's what he's talking about, that counter field. Anyway, that's super heady, but regardless, I think it's going in both directions at the same time. And that's that spin, Yeah,
because the thing is, Lily, as well, what you're talking about, the both directions as well, because you got to know, like, for example, if you're south of the equator and you're looking at the sun, just say you're in Australia and the sun is at the equator on Libra, for argument's sake. In Australia, you're seeing the sun rise from your right to left. And then for us in the northern hemisphere, we're seeing it from left to right. And also the two poles, the south and north pole, they've got different rotations. So that kind of ties in with your Merkaba thing as well, with the two different rotations of the two poles.
Yeah, and what trips me out about that is, like, they say, like, the Ida and the Pingala in the Buddhist path or whatever, we've got two energy cords that go with this as well. And like, if you're a female, it's one side, and if you're a male, it's one side, and like the colors shift. And it's almost like one half of the hemisphere of Earth is one of those and the other is the other.
Yeah, exactly.
Things rotate, and it's in the esoteric doctrine that it, and just like you were saying earlier, from the transcendental perspective versus in the embodied perspective, And there's always this switch going on.
Man, definitely.
So it's
yeah. Now, I have a question for you. A lot of astrologers out there will tell you that if you want to know about history, you got to look up at the stars because everything is recorded there. Now, we say the stars are in some kind of gas water up there, which seems apparent when you look at them. They seem to be little flicking lights in water. Makes sense that there's a barrier in the firmament to prevent, I don't know what, from falling in or going out, whatever. But where I want to go with that is, could that be possible that the stars hold memory because they are in water and water has memory? Like even inside your own body, it's probably water, crystalline water holding most of your long-term memory. So could the long-term memory of humanity being recorded into the stars? And can we at one point, if we get enough ascension, enough soul on fire, reach the higher realm and really read about real history, like not nonsense, Babylonian nonsense that I get fed here on Earth? So could we, like, because I think that knowledge of real history and stuff like that, you have to deserve that stuff. Here on Earth, if you're a Muggle, they will put you into a school and teach you that kind of history. Now, if you ascend to a higher realm, do you have access to real history because you become a star and you're floating in water like them, and then you can really have that's what I feel a bit. I don't know if I'm wrong. I go far again.
Yeah, it could be. I mean, I don't know if you've heard of something called like the Akashic Records. Yeah, that's what you're saying kind of reminds me of that, about how, like, yeah, I mean, I'm not too sure when it comes to like that subject. I mean, it makes sense what you're saying with like the water and the memory connection, but again, man, it's a bit of a hard one to even try and comprehend, if I'm being totally honest. But yeah, man, I would not know the answer to that question, but
intuitively, does it make sense for you, according to your intuition and what you feel? Like, I'm not asking you to really give me a scientific answer, but just if you can relate to that kind of stuff.
Intuitively,
or maybe you have another perspective.
I mean, I don't know. I don't know. Intuitively, I kind of view the stars a bit different, in a bit of a different way. I kind of see our stars as like our own. It's like a map for us to navigate around the Earth, because that's how I view the stars. Because when you go to different parts of the Earth, you will see different constellations and different stars. So I kind of feel like that was almost put there for us to kind of know how to navigate around the Earth. Again, that's only my own personal intuitive feeling about it, but yeah, that's what I would say. Like, I feel like the stars are like a navigation system, whereas the sun and the planets are more kind of archetypes and personalities that we all like have inside us. That's how I kind of, because there's something called, have you ever looked into a persona chart, Lily? Like, there's a thing on AstroSeek, it's called the 9 persona charts, whereas each planet in your chart is a persona within you, and then each planet has its own chart, basically. So you like really fractalize it. So there's that concept, but yeah, I just personally see the constellations as like more of a GPS thing for us to know where we are on Earth. That's my own personal view.
What I thought about was Rupert Sheldrake and the Akasha, yes, but the idea that Rupert Sheldrake believes that memories are like history, and our memories even are not housed in, it's a collective thing, like the Akasha, like a little, and that the more, like, we are stars, yes, but we're born with a broken Okema bodies. You know, like our star vehicle is totally trashed when we're first born, depending on where we are in the process of raising that light body. Again, you know, we could come in with like a GT or whatever, like a really hot one that's already really tweaked. But most of us are born forgetting our past, forgetting this or that, and pretty identified with our ego and identity. And the process of becoming a star is becoming more and more clear, getting each of the chakras more and more juiced, and so that they're reflecting and vibrating and opened, right? And this is a process of removing our own identity, making room to receive more of the divine influx of light. And we're becoming more and more like stars, right? So in that case, like, we're our own memories of our identity and how we have that all twisted and turned into little crystals and towers and, like, I don't know, diorama landscapes and everything else we've got going on. Those get moved out. So we come more into this reflective waters. That's a collective memory that, like, kind of Rupert Sheldrake talks about, is just what it reminded me of. But I think you're definitely onto something. And I don't think memory is necessarily personal, and that we can, it's interesting, like, people, the more and more you do get your light going and your chakras going, the more you sort of realize the BS and all the history. Like, you're pretty wise to stuff pretty quick. Like, how many of us fell for the COVID thing, you know? Like, I don't have any of my syncretist friends that did. Like, that was immediate. Everyone knew, you know? So that's because we it's pretty hard to fool us, because we can sense it in the collective waters, right?
So I'm laughing because I like the way you explained it. It touched on there, what you just said.
Thanks, bud.
Or maybe it's just our special water powers.
True.
Yeah.
Something I wonder too, could these stars have a huge effect on the change of the season? Because now we're talking that the stars regulate the time of the year, like certain Orion, I only see it in the winter. So does Orion bring cold weather? Does it have to do with cold? Like, because the signs that are in January, February, March, okay, those three signs are stuck together. I think after it's April, May, June. So Gemini, Taurus, and I don't know which is the other one. I'm not super familiar with all this. But there's 12 months of the year, 12 astrological main signs if we use the 12 astrological signs. So could the stars bring like the cold weather, or also the hot weather in the summer, or it's simply the sun regulating everything?
Yeah, it's the sun, basically. It's nothing to do with the constellations, because tropical astrology is not based on. Can you hear me, Yannick?
Yes, I hear you.
Yeah, because tropical astrology is not based on the sun going through the actual constellations. It's based on what part of the ecliptic the sun is on. So the ecliptic is the path of the sun, basically. So tropical astrology is based more on where the sun is on its path, rather than it being behind a set of constellations, if that makes sense.
Okay, yeah, that's it. Okay.
Yeah, the reason why it's colder when we see Orion is because the sun is closer to the Tropic of Capricorn. It's further away from us, so that's why it's colder. It's more to do with the sun rather than the actual stars.
Okay, the stars might be a bit too far up there to really have an effect.
Yeah, I'm sure they do have some sort of influence too. But again, like I'm just saying, in terms of like tropical astrology, we don't really pay too much attention to those. Like it's more to do with the sun and the planets being in a particular degree of the sun's path. So, for example, Aries is from 0 degrees to plus 30 above the equator. So because now when the sun is in Aries in tropical astrology, if you was to look in the sky, the sun is not actually in the constellation of Aries, it's in Pisces and going towards Aquarius. So that's called precession. But that's a different system. See, this is what a lot of people get confused about as well, because another thing is that when you look at the constellations in the sky, they're all different sizes. So Aries might be really small, like Virgo is like 48 degrees in the sky. It's really big. But in tropical astrology, each sign is 30 degrees. So it's really based on the sun being behind the constellation. It's based on the sun being at a particular part of its journey, which is what gives an Aries energy or a Taurus. Because a lot of people, this is why a lot of people think that tropical astrology don't work, because they say, oh, but the sun's actually not in Aries at Aries time, it's in Pisces, so tropical astrology can't work. But the tropical astrology doesn't follow them. It just follows the sun and its path, and that journey is what creates the different energies, rather than it being behind a particular constellation. Sorry, that was a bit of a long-winded explanation, but
makes sense.
It was a good one. One thing you don't know, Mehmet, is that Yannick's been reading a sidereal astrology book, like about like 27 nakshatras or something.
Yeah.
So like he's like, so that's happening. But then also, like I was going to say that we do like what Mehmet explained it perfectly, but like also we do pay attention to the slippage of the stars. The stars are moving, and that's the precession. And we do factor into that in Western esoteric and tropical astrology by talking about the precession of the equinox and the difference between the eras or the epochs of consciousness. So when the sun is in Pisces during Aries, it's the epoch of Pisces, right? Like,
so age of Pisces, yeah, exactly.
Yeah, so we do that. It affects the way that we conceptualize and build our worldview, or our just salt of the worldview is affected by where those stars are, in relation to the Aries point, or and it's like what we do in tropical is we're looking at the cardinal directions, and it's like what's rising east, like at due east, when the sun is actually rising east in the middle, not northeast or southeast,
Yeah. And you said cardinal, but the cardinal, I think of red because the cardinal bird is red, and the cardinal in the Vatican, they dress in red. So what's the red color in the cardinal sign? What card? Because you have the bird, red, and
the cardinal signs are the first sign at the start of a season. So every cardinal sign is always the start of a season. So the 4 cardinal signs are Aries, Cancer, Libra, and Capricorn. So Aries is the start of spring, Cancer is the start of summer, Libra is the start of autumn, and Capricorn is the start of winter. So the reason why it is red, or Khandhro might relate to red, is because it's the explosion, the bang. It's the start of something. That's what cardinal means. It's the start of something, whereas mutable is the end of something, and fixed is in the middle.
And it's the male that's red in the bird. So E as the seed, the female is not red.
Yeah. But and they also initiate action. They're the beginning, and they're the 4 points of the cross, which is interesting for the cardinal in the Vatican, right? The cardinal's like a leader, isn't he? I don't know.
Yep.
Yeah.
Yeah. There's that one astrologer, Marinus, John Baptiste Marinus, and he like has an enemy, like a adversary that's a cardinal, and it's just like that's kind of dry material. But it's really funny because he hates this cardinal so much or whatever. Anyway, makes me think of that.
Yeah. No, I would like also to hear Mehmet about way to communicate with the above. Like I brought that to Lily, I think, the last time. But is there a way, in your perspective, that we can communicate with the stars? And I'm talking in intuitive sense. Of course, I'm not going to pick up the phone and call Orion or whatever. But is there an intuitive way when you're very much in tune with who you are in nature and all that, Look, there's people that can make rain appear and rainbows and stuff when you have. I'm not talking about people on craft dinner and Pepsi here. No? I'm talking about people that have a high vibrational state. Is it possible for them to really get to that level?
I guess it may be. I mean, yeah, I mean, my personal connection, like, again, with the stars and looking at it, if I'm being totally honest, is more of a, like, mechanical relationship, in the sense of, for example, if I see the moon in the sky and I'm looking at the position of it, I will know roughly what sign it's in, or
okay, and that speaks to you.
Yeah, that
okay.
me, because it will give me a particular equation. So I'm saying, okay, moon's low, it's in Capricorn, it's gonna give this vibe. Like, do you get what I mean? That's how it's to me, rather than rather than me speaking to it to get something from it. That's not how I would. I don't really communicate with them in that sense, but I communicate, or should I say, they're communicating to me what they're doing, and they're kind of warning us where they'll be, or what type of energy will be created by the position they're in. Basically, that's the way I would read it.
No, it makes sense also that we shouldn't expect us to beg them for something, but them to give us wisdom if we deserve it, if we're in tune with ourselves. Because my experience on the bike path the other day, I was totally blown away by the beauty I had in front of me, and it's like they were giving me some kind of energy, and I didn't ask for it. It just happened. So I think that's a bit what happened. Maybe Lily can extend on it. Like, if you have, like you, Lily, you have studied the stuff, so you have a great perspective on what's up there. So maybe you are more intuitive about it than someone eating craft dinner, drinking Pepsi, whatever, sitting in front of the TV, not with a bad learning attitude, because you gotta have a good learning attitude to dive into that stuff. So if you have that kind of knowledge within you, do you become more intuitive towards the cosmos? Because I'm guessing that's common sense.
It seems to me, in my practice, one of the lines says to the masters and the Vajra, the Vajra guides who constantly reach out to guide and befriend us, like that there are ascended masters that are constantly reaching out to guide and befriend us, and that they hail, as I mentioned last time, daemons hail from different planetary archetypes, like they live on different planets. And I think Steiner said that the Buddha, like the Tathagata, Shakyamuni Buddha, was from Mars, like he lives on Mars. So I don't know if that's true, but I think it may be. I don't remember if that's, but the point is he lived somewhere, right? Like it was on a planet. And so I think there are different guides that have certain, like the persona kind of thing that Mehmet was talking about. Like different planets have different sort of vibes. They have different jobs. They have different things they do.
Yeah.
And so there are different archetypes that live, or their frequency is the same. So it coalesces around that planet. That's what I think.
Yeah, that makes sense.
Yeah.
And we say often that if on Earth, if you're lost, look up at the stars, they will guide you home. So I'm guessing that these, like you said, these stars are guides for us. But now, would a guide take your hand and force you to? No, you have to follow the guide. Usually, you have to want to follow the guide. So if you want to follow the teaching of the stars, it will come to you. And again, I'm talking more about thoughts being sent out, because I think thoughts are more powerful than your math. So then talk sometimes is cheap, but the thoughts are very powerful, I think. So maybe if you really get in tune with the cosmos within you, you can be in tune with the cosmos above, and it will come and guide you in life. And again, you have to be intuitive. It's deep shit I'm talking about here. It's even beyond my own comprehension, but that's what I'm thinking. That's what I have in mind. So that's what I'm giving you today. Yeah, I think it's a matter of becoming very, very intuitive with ourselves. Would you agree? To follow the guidance, to be able to accept the guidance and to see the guidance in there and to read the energy also.
Yeah, I definitely, because even I was thinking about that the other day with like, you know, like the whole like LA fire thing, and then like the whole like full moon in Cancer conjunct Mars, and like how like and again, like I'm not saying like, because obviously there's different views on whether it was scripted or whether it isn't, but like again, like I personally think that like the elites, they will kind of play upon these conjunctions to for example, to ignite people. Like, for example, if they know that Mars is conjunct the moon on a full moon, a full moon makes you emotional anyway, but conjunct with Mars is going to add anger, passion. So then, for example, they can create an event or do something that will play upon those energies. That's how I see, like, how people use black magic using astrology too.
Absolutely.
But when you know these things, you can see past it. It's like, as soon as that happened, the first thing I went and done was looked at a chart and I think, full moon, Cancer, Mars is detrimented in Cancer. And yeah, it's just knowing, once you have an understanding of certain things, it's like, in a nice way, you can see through it all as well.
Yeah, we're playing poker. They're playing poker, and you can watch them roll those dice. I think, you know, you and I were connected when they inserted COVID, and I think that we were, one thing that came up between us as friends and maybe a couple other people was like, it was a Gemini moon when they inserted it, and it was like, I just immediately was like, oh my gosh, if you're a black magician, look, this is how you do it, you know. And it's just like, it was so obvious that they had like picked the like perfect insert moment to get the maximum spin immediately, right? Yeah.
Also, all that I've noticed, you know, like the Palestine stuff that happened, both of them happened on the equinoxes, and they both happened during the eclipse season as well. They always do things during the eclipse season as well. That's another thing I've noticed too.
Yeah, they know what they're doing. You know, it just occurred to me, and this is a little off topic, but did you hear about Tecumseh's curse, or that curse where every president that is a president under the Jupiter-Saturn conjunction gets an assassination attempt? Have you heard about that? And then like Reagan got it, and like Kennedy. And then like Reagan's astrologer like saved him in the 80s, Joan Quigley, because she knew about it. And like, I mean, it is a phenomenon for like ever, right? And so like, just interestingly and kind of funny, right? Like I knew about that. And so when we didn't know who won, you know, theoretically, we didn't know who won the last election. Like the whole 4 years, I'm like watching, being like, who's going to get an assassination attempt? Like, not that I wanted anyone to get hurt, but just like as astrology good, like, or as an academic, just being like, because for the first time ever, like we don't know who won by, you know. And it was interesting who did get an assassination attempt. And like the first one, I thought, okay, maybe that could have been staged. But the second one, I'm like, by the time there were two, like I still look at it and I'm like, one person got assassination attempts and the other didn't. So but the reason I thought of that is because the insertion of these LA fires in California, like this is, I'm probably going to get like hate mail now, but whatever. Like, you know, like the insertion of that in California right before what's about to happen on Monday. And, you know, and I don't know, I just live in Oregon. So I live in a place where they're flying the flags at half mast on Monday. They're like already starting major protests all weekend long, you know, gearing up for the inauguration. So I just find it interesting. The LA fires, I think I like the P. Diddy explanation a little bit too, just because, you know, they probably did need to get rid of some underground tunnels, but yeah, I don't know why. I don't know why the elites do what they do, but I agree with you, Mehmet, that they do stuff.
Yeah, they play energies. Yeah, like
I'm gonna bring up something about the elite exactly. I think we've talked about it. I brought it up with Nick and Crystal. It's the reincarnation process, okay? Because Mehmet, I want to hear you on this because we're all wondering at one point why the world doesn't change. You know, we're in like cycles of destruction, anyway, nothing changes, remains the same. Now we're evolving, I get it, but the majority are still in the dark and kept in perpetual darkness for ages. Now, they have power to do black magic, voodoo, all kinds of stuff, manipulate energies. And that's why probably they record your birth certificate, your time of birth, your place, everything is marked on that paper to probably do some kind of rituals. Now, what I want to hear you on is that reincarnation process. Is that the reason why we're in perpetual darkness? Because they know how to manipulate the reincarnation and exactly reincarnate wherever they want and to keep us in darkness with black magic. Or I'm going far again, I know, probably going to get 8 mail too. I think it's important to look at it because that's the only thing for me that would explain why we live in such a perpetual darkness, because there's new being born. So the vibe should change. Like we're not in the 50s no more. The music's not the same. Everything evolved. But why we are kept in perpetual darkness with satanic rituals and all kinds of nonsense attached to their stuff? Do you think that makes sense that they could manipulate the reincarnation process to keep us there?
What, like manipulate? Well, there is a saying that, for example, if when you die, if you're at a particular, if your spirit or your soul is at a particular frequency, then you can't ascend. So then you'll just bounce back and come back to the earth, reincarnate into another body. And I guess maybe, again, I'm not saying this is true. I'm just going off like what feels right to me. The reason why they would want to keep us stuck in this lower frequency is because, just say the elites do rule this world. For argument's sake, I don't know if they do. What they would do, like they wouldn't want people to ascend because then they would have no servants left. So then, make us do low vibrational things to maybe keep us reincarnating into this realm. So that's the whole point of why they control us and get us to fight each other and kill things, and because then that low vibrational energy can't kind of break the barrier and ascend to the next realm. So it just keeps this thing going on and on and on and on. Again, that's just an idea. There's no way of me proving that. I'm not saying it's true. I'm not saying it's false. I'm just saying that if that is the case, then that's what would make sense to me. Because, and also as well, why would they want us to ascend? Because then they can't control us. That's why we do everything to try and stop us from ascending, ultimately.
Well, one, we're in the Kali Yuga phase. So we're in the darkest phase of consciousness at this time. We've known this forever since the Brahmins and the, Upanishads and all of that. But two, as in Theosophy, we understand it's a sevenfold process of procession, and that they want to block us at the Jupiter phase. That this is material that's in 2001 Space Odyssey. It's represented in that symbolically. So that's part of the esoteric understanding, is that when we get to this phase right here, that they want to block us from going, making the full go and return of the procession. That God or Source has intended for us to make all of the rings, but so they want it, and I just remember them saying block at the Jupiter phase, like so we don't get to go to the Jupiter phase.
Right.
Interesting. Anyway, guys, we're gonna stop that there for today. It's been an hour and 10 minutes. It would be good that we all move a little bit now. And that's it. Sitting down that long is one thing, but I like to move also. But I'm very grateful for you being here. We can do it again next Sunday. I'm available. So hopefully I have the camera on and everything is good, because I don't even think my good mic is working. You might hear me, but anyway, I had some issues, technological issues today on the TruMon show. So please.
Yeah, it's all good, brother. Like you said, man, we can do this again next week. And
yeah, I have many other topics I would like to.
I don't usually do much on Sundays anyway, just like chilling. So I'm happy to.
I want to talk about the power of the ether too around us. Like there is tremendous power, like about also sending thoughts in the ether, or look, they can harvest energy from there. So there's something with the ether around us that we're not being told. Definitely, I don't think I would have learned that in secondary school about the ether. I never knew the word, because before I show up on YouTube, I never heard the word ether. So I don't even think it's on the radar of majority of people, but there is something out there. They call it oxygen, air, or something, but I think it's something else. Very powerful, the ether, and all the points also in nature. Like
That's
there's a
really
point.
important in the wood snake year, because snake is fire, but wood is ether. And we're getting ready.
And there's lots of trees.
Interesting, Lily. Talk about Chinese astrology. Yeah. I watched an amazing video recently, and it's like kind of syncretized. It's a video that kind of syncretizes the two systems, and it's really interesting. I'll have to send it to you, and it really,
that'd be awesome.
Yeah, it really made me think, because obviously, like, generally speaking, the Chinese astrology is like kind of based on Jupiter a lot, because for example, if you've got the same Jupiter sign, you're more than likely to be the same animal in the Chinese. Yeah, so because obviously it's a yearly thing, isn't it? So Jupiter takes 1 year in each sign. So their system is loosely based on Jupiter.
Huh.
Interesting.
That's interesting, because that's interesting.
Because I know I've got a cousin who's like 12 years younger than me, and he's got Jupiter in Sag, and so have I, and we're both born in the year of the pig. So I know that it's based on the Jupiter cycle.
Just a quick question. I have both of my son. I have 3 children, but I have two sons, 1 daughter. Yeah. The 2 sons are born on the same date. 21st of March, both of them.
Wow.
Right on the equinox. What does that signify? It always blew my mind. And 10 years apart.
Wow. Yeah, that's cool.
And 21st of March. Cool. It's a significant place in astrology, huh?
Yeah, well, especially after having just read Kim's chart yesterday, and her 2 sons are both Aries with really strong Mars. And like that's so beautiful for her. Like that's really cool. They're like warrior. She's a kind of a backseat warrior. She really shows up as a strong support for people. But her boys are out there fighting for her. Like, that's cool.
Oh yeah. No, I always found that very interesting that and I think they're like 10 minutes apart in the birth. They're very close with the time also. And yeah.
Interesting to look at their charts.
Not from the same woman. I was with another girl back. I had Sam when I was very young. I was 24, and then I met Kim later on, and then we had 2 other children together. But there's one that is not from Kim, and the other one come from Kim, 10 years apart, same day.
Wow! So it's you.
It's mind-blowing. So I would like to maybe explore that kind of significance, not for me personally, but I'm sure it's maybe the story of others, that they're born like on the 25th of December. What does it signify? If you're born, are you the new son of the earth? Are you supposed to be the new son? You're born like, it must have a certain, like,
I mean, yeah, man, like they're both just warriors, I guess. They're just harsh and
Yeah.
Anyway, we'll explore all this when we see each other again. I have a lot. I think I'll have questions until the day I die, so it's not a problem. We're going to be here for a long time.
We all have.
We all have. So greetings, everyone. Large up for showing up or watching it after. Sorry for me being frozen with a smile, but at least that's why I left it, because I had a smile on my face, and that's me all the time. So you get me at my real. So I'll see you again next Saturday. I'll be live again tomorrow with my bro Frank. We're doing the review of the book, PT's book, very interesting, about the basic of what humans should do with their body and the world. So that's always very interesting. Even if I repeat it 20 times, that book, I don't care. It's good stuff. And that's why we're going to do this tomorrow. And also, just to say, I'm live on the radio now. I get a radio reggae show going, and I'm starting tonight on chawaradio.com. So I'll be there blasting reggae tunes, good stuff. I only listen to stuff that is conscious and brings me up, uplift me. So, and that's what I want for humanity. So I'm joining chawaradio.com. That's my update. But until then, that's it. I'll see you. Keep vibing high. Stay up and in with life. Very important. The world needs you both. The world needs everyone. And we all should be up and in with life. So rise and shine. That's what I say all the time. So guys, much love every time. And we will be back next Sunday. Saturday, it's Crystal and Nick. And we'll be you Sunday. So boom, we're up. See ya.
Peace.
Peace. More peace.